Welcome to our channel. Here you're going to find lots of ways to help you to deal with asbestos. I've been in the industry for some 17 years, so I know a thing or two about the subject. So what I'd like to do really is, without any further ado, is to get stuck in and let's see how we can help you with all the different problems that you come across when it comes to asbestos. So let's get started. So what is asbestos? Where can you find it? What to do if you discover you have some in your home or your place of work for that matter? Well, before we go any further, why don't we listen to someone who might be familiar to you, and let's just see how he explains the problems that we have with asbestos before we go any further.
I'm here to lend my support to the Hidden Killer campaign. And one of the main reasons is obviously when you consider that 20 workmen a week are dying of asbestos related diseases, and that's more than road accidents. It's quite worrying. And anybody who is working in a building that was built before 2000 really needs to be majorly aware of asbestos. Me for a start, when I was young, I started at 14 and I worked in buildings till maybe 19. And for me, I just went straight at it. You know, we've got people, you know, even going there. I actually enjoyed going in and smashing walls and going through stuff and all the time. I don't even know now if I've breathed in certain stuff. I'm sure I have. But the main thing here is for people to understand that, you know, in a game that is very much, let's go down and have a drink. I'll just get on with it. You know, we really need to just stop and think and really be very much aware of what is going on around you. I don't think workmen see it as a risk, only because I think that the stigma of asbestos being completely banned, I think people think, oh well, I'm not dealing with that anymore. But when you consider, for a start, like even when I was younger, it's the last thing you're thinking about when you go into a house, digging out old cellars and walls and stuff. The last thing you're thinking about is, oh, is something going to bother me here? Am I breathing in something? What you actually can't feel, you know, you can't even see it. It just gets in and just gets to work, and when you're exposed to it like they are, you know, it's doing the damage. And you know, the thing what really need to get over to the guys is that, I know how boring health and safety can be, but you really need to take major amount of attention to it, because at the end of the day, it is going to get inside you and it is going to kill you. There's no cure for this. So I think they need to take it seriously, because it's, what can I say, it's deadly serious. It's deadly serious. We want people to call 0845 345 0055 or log on to the website to find out how to recognise and deal with asbestos safely. When you consider, if it was 20 Premier League players dying a week, it would mean in 3 months there'll be no Premier League.
What is asbestos? Well, it's mined from the ground. It actually grows on like a fur on a rock. And what they do is they separate the rock from the fur, and the fur then is asbestos. Do you know it's still used around the world? A third of the world are still mining it and using it. It's incredible when you consider how bad it is for us. There's different types of asbestos. We're not going to talk about all these different ones, but there's a serpentine asbestos which is called white asbestos, and that is chrysotile. And then you have an amphibole asbestos, and that's your other types, your amosite, chrysidolite, etc, etc. But what difference are these? What is the difference? Well, let's have a look at chrysotile, for instance. It's long and curly and it's silky. It's alkali resistant, which is quite interesting. Hydrophilic, which means it's absorbent. It'll absorb moisture, and it's naturally removed from the lungs, but only in small amounts. It's the least dangerous, but of course, as any asbestos, regardless, it can be fatal. And then we've got the amphibole family. Barbed, sharp pieces. They're hydrophobic, which means they resist water. Water runs off them. They're unreactive. In other words, they just float around in the air. They're acid resistance, and the body's got no defense against this type of asbestos. Why do they use asbestos in the first place? Well, it's 7 times stronger than steel, chemical resistant. Isn't that incredible? Heat resistant, well, we all know why people use it for that, because of its quality to resist heat. It doesn't conduct electricity, so it's great in really technical areas where electric sparks might be. It's flexible, it can be woven into different types of material. It's an acoustic insulation, great for keeping the noise down if it was inside your walls. And of course, the most important thing back in the day was it was cheap. How does it kill you? Well, what you're looking at here is a piece of asbestos fiber, and right around the asbestos fiber are something called macrophages. Now what a macrophage does is it bolts itself onto any little particle that goes into your lungs, and it tries to dissolve it to keep your lungs nice and clear, but in doing so it destroys not only itself, but it destroys the lung. See, they excrete acid, so they land on the particle of asbestos and squirt acid on there. But of course it fails because asbestos is acid resistant, and of course everyone that lands on that little particle of asbestos dies off. The next one comes on, that one dies off, and the acid damage gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it causes the lungs to become brittle. They don't expand then because they're brittle, and of course the result is fatal. You can see here mesothelioma. That is only you can only get mesothelioma through asbestos. And as you can see on this little lung here, there's a couple of little areas where you can see little spots that started off invisible to the human eye, but over the years have just grown and grown and grown. If you add a little bit of smoke into that, then you've got a right mess on your lungs, because it's already trying to fight off the tar situation, and then you add asbestos to it, and that really starts to get serious. A couple of case studies for you. Here she is, little Sophie Ellis. She died at 18 years of age. She contracted mesothelioma when she was 13, and she died. And it was, she used to come in and give her dad a hug when he came home from work, and he had asbestos on his clothing. Very sad indeed. And what about this one? We all know, or we don't, we might know, depends on how old. If you're old as me, then you know Steve McQueen, very famous in his day. But he was a dock worker, he loved his motorbikes, and very often I'm sure he would use his airline to blow out the dust from in between his brake shoes. So, some people say, well, it's too late for me to worry about asbestos, I've been in it all my life, Phil. Oh, good for you. And my father worked with asbestos, and it never affected him. And maybe I've got mesothelioma already. It's just doing its thing, processing. Why do I need to wear protection now or worry? That's a bit of a selfish way of thinking, really, isn't it, when you think about it? Because really, we should be thinking about the other people around us. We should be thinking about our young ones. What are we taking home with us? Are we covered in asbestos? Do we actually work or ignore the warnings? Well, we shouldn't be thinking of just ourselves. We should be thinking of those we love and those that are dear to our hearts. So this is the end of video number 1. And next we're going to be looking at asbestos. What does it look like? Where can I find it? All these things are going to be answered in video number 2. Thanks for watching.